Hello, happy Friday. Welcome to the deep dive. Back for another one. Shuffle around the chat. All right, welcome. Yes, happy Friday. Like I said, this is a deep dive. If you are new and don't know, my name is Tim. I go by Foamy Guy on GitHub and Discord, and I am filling in on this stream, Deep Dive. It was created originally by Scott Shawcroft, lead developer of CircuitPython. He is working a reduced schedule right now. He is still on parental leave, had his second child, so he's working part-time and taking care of the kiddo the rest of the time. So he is not doing the deep dives right now, and I am here filling in. If you are in fact new, then you may not know Deep Dive is a weekly live stream that happens around this time. It is 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, or I usually also bill it as 4 p.m. Central because that happens to be the time zone I am in. And on this stream, whether it's Scott or I, we are here working on something in CircuitPython land. As the lead developer, he's usually working on cutting edge stuff, whatever is up and coming in the CircuitPython core. When I am here, I do tend to work at a higher level usually, although we do venture down into the core sometimes as well. Just depends on what I have going on in this particular week and what I feel like working on during the stream when Friday afternoon comes. So that is the deep dive. If you would like to learn more about CircuitPython, the main website for the project is here at circuitpython.org. If you don't know, it is a version of Python that runs on tiny computers called microcontrollers. Typically, the way this works when you use CircuitPython with these devices, which is not the only way that you can program them, but it is one of the way, and it's the way that we work on here on this stream. Typically, the way it works, you plug it into your computer with a USB cable. It's going to show up like a thumb drive. On that drive, there's going to be a file called code.py, a Python code file. You can open that in whatever text editor or IDE you want, edit the Python code that's in there, and when you save it, the microcontroller will actually reset automatically and then interpret and execute that Python code. And your code can interface with whatever other hardware peripherals that you hook up to the microcontroller. So some microcontrollers have loads of I/O pins. You can hook up essentially whatever kind of electronic doodad you want. Others are more sort of purpose-built. They have built-in hardware. There's some, adaptability. There's a couple of plugs here on the side. You can kind of see them in this photo. You can plug in additional peripherals to that, but this device is a lot more purpose-built. It has a built-in screen, a built-in touch overlay. I think there is also like some kind of sensor. I forget if it's a temperature sensor or a light sensor or something. I forget exactly, but there's a sensor, I believe, along the top there somewhere. And I think maybe there's an accelerometer or something on this, if I'm not mistaken, although I could be. So this one is kind of like a little sort of tablet type device. You can use it to display information from the internet or build little user interfaces if you would like. So that is the very quick version. CircuitPython is open source. If you would like to help the CircuitPython project and the people who work on it, such as myself, one of the easiest ways to do it is by purchasing hardware from Adafruit. This is their website, adafruit.com. They fund the CircuitPython project by paying a team of developers, including myself and Scott, to work, as well as some others, to work on CircuitPython and the surrounding code and infrastructure and projects and documentation. And they allow us to publish that source code and everything all under open source licenses, which is obviously super cool, I think. So if you would like to help support them and open source software, all the stuff that they pay us to work on, one of the easiest ways to do it is just purchase hardware from them. They sell microcontroller devices like the ones I was talking about before. They also have breakouts and all sorts of sensors and lights and other little widgets and doodads that you can hook up to your microcontroller. They also have the whole learn system if you need inspiration for a project, or if you want to find a project just kind of ready to be built. You can look in here. There's loads and loads of projects that you can do that have step-by-step instructions and everything to get you going. All right, what is up, Retired Wizard and the Autograph? Nice to see both of you this afternoon, my friends. So today I am working on getting a patch ready for the CircuitPython libraries, and ultimately we're going to need this to be in the Adabot repo. So let me open that up. Adabot right there. Take this one, I think, for now. Updated. Whoops. Here, I'm going to update with the terminal because sometimes it goes faster than doing it with the IDE. It's convenient to be able to do it in the IDE. Updated. So when we want to roll out a patch to all of the CircuitPython libraries, what we end up doing is creating a patch file, putting it in this folder, submitting a PR to put that patch file in this folder. And then there is a command that you can run with the Adabot utility that will go through every single library that's in the Adafruit bundle, and it will attempt to apply that patch. Getting something ready to upload myself. Nice. That's cool to hear. So we need to, in order to generate this, so this is just like a git diff file. In order to generate this, we need to actually make a commit in one of the libraries. And there's actually instructions for this, which I usually follow. They're kind of brief, if I recall correctly, but they basically tell you what you need to do. In the README here somewhere, it says... So we'll have to worry about this stuff only if you're going to actually run the patch, which I don't believe we're going to get to today, because I'm going to have to submit the PR and get that reviewed and approved and merged. There's some stuff we need to do before that's going to... Applying patches. Okay, it's this section. So to apply a patch... So go apply updates to any library, use git commit. It's recommended to give it a short message, patch file. So then we can create a patch file with this. So basically we need to make the changes, the same changes that we want to make in all the libraries. We need to actually just make that change in one of the libraries. So I'm just going to, actually, am I going to do this one? I think that's fine. I'm just going to do SPA 06003 because it's handy. It's in the top of the list of my recents. I've been working on it recently. I will update. My main should be up to date, but just in case, let's update that. And let's make a new branch for this. Ultimately, this branch doesn't have to get pushed, but fine, we'll call this. So I'm going to do two things in this patch. There's a rough... We want to remove a rough rule config that's like deprecated and removed in modern versions of rough, which we don't actually use in pre-commit. We use a rather old one at this point. But it will be good to get that removed because that means folks can use a newer rough and it won't crash, which is nice. It may not apply all of the exact same rules as our actual version that's in pre-commit. So, may still need to watch out for that. Like if you use a newer one, not guaranteed to pass the actions. It could be different, but yeah, it will get you most of the way there, and it will not crash after we make the change. So that's one of them. The other one is going to be this fix, which I have open here, which is a fix for the docs. And I can show you this actually in the Fruit Jam library. Well, first list. So in the docs here, and this applies to a bunch of different libraries. This is just one place where I happen to know to find it. I've definitely seen this in other places. So this right here, where this property is like side by side stacked horizontally like this, and it's like not exactly clear where does this one end and this one begin. And there's kind of a space there, I guess you can see. In this case, it's not completely impossible to tell, but it doesn't look very good. It's not really how it's supposed to be. All the rest of them are in a list vertically. So it's kind of just a quirk of the theme and the CSS and the way this gets generated that causes this to happen. And there is a fix for it that's right here, which is now in the cookie cutter. So any new libraries going forward that get generated with cookie cutter, they are going to have this fix automatically. And then once we apply this patch, all of the existing libraries are also going to get the same fix. So things like this will no longer appear in the docs. Instead, this will just be in the vertical list like it should be. So those two changes are what we're doing. So I'm actually just going to call this Adabot patch changes. And we need to do two things. We need a CSS file in here. Actually, we can open, I think this one was done in the TLV library. TLV 320. Bug report, by the way, I think it was Sam Blenny who figured out how to actually like work around this issue. Sam Blenny, thanks for submitting this. I think Sam figured this out when they were doing work on the TLV library. Did a lot of work on volume. And back then, in one of the PRs somewhere, I was like, we should ultimately plan to apply this to everything. This problem gets fixed across the board. So you need one other thing, which is listed in here. So inside the config file, we tell it to use this custom CSS file, and inside the custom CSS file, there's just a rule here that, if you know anything about CSS, display block means to stack vertically. Don't allow it to go horizontally. No, inline would be the opposite of block. It's not clear to me why, like how exactly it chooses which ones it's gonna stack in line, but this makes it so that none of them will be put in line, which is ultimately. I will make sure to put it in the same place, so let me get another look here. So this is after HTML static path. Right here. So that's one change that we want to do. And then the other one is the rough rule, which I think is like E9 or that. It was already removed. Actually, I do think it was already removed from this one because I'm pretty sure this. I think this was actually already done in the cookie cutter a little while back too, a couple weeks ago. Yeah, E99, 999 actually, 3 nines. Thanks to EJG Morrington. Cutter. It should just be. So, actually, that makes the SPA06 that rate a good one to use for this, actually. Let us try Fruit Jam. There, E9. Okay, this one does have E999 in it. Does not have custom docs. Okay, so let's do it in the Fruit Jam library instead. So basically, like the problem is I need to make both of these changes for my commit, and that SPA06, because it came from the newer cookie cutter, after that change, the E999 one was already in cookie cutter, it means that it already had it. So not very easy for me to get the commit with the remove that I need. We could like put it back and then do it, but like I don't. Branch from main. Again, I'm just gonna call this Adabot patch. This branch, we won't need to like actually push it or do anything but after I get the diff from it. Move that, and we'll make the other two changes. Same ones as we just did before. Conf.py to the static files path. To copy. We'll run pre-commit. Sure. Here from testing. Those files don't have licenses, and it's you have to have license. Realize they're not checked in, but that's. Check our commit here. So we should have adding custom CSS into conf.py. We have the actual custom CSS file, and then in rough config we remove E999 39s. Move dated rough rule around the theme property. Dated rough rule workaround RTD. This gonna make the commit locally. For updates, and then we get the patch file using this command. So get format patch. Linking to a thing. Just linking to the command. Yeah, totally. Right here. So the actual command is get format patch, and then it differs depending on if you have multiple commits or what you're trying to do. So we actually just have a single commit. It's the latest commit. So that's exactly what we want right here. Get format patch -1. Not in the Adabot repo though. We want to do this in the FruitJam repo where I just made that commit. Format patch -1, and that is going to create a new file right here, 001, and it has the get commit message. We can copy that over to Adabot patches. I'll put the date. I think I've been 100% about doing that, but I do think it's nice when you have the dates. So let's say 10. I'll just put today's date. Not gonna run today, but day of the PR at least. 5. say RTD CSS. Don't necessarily need the name of the file to be the entire thing. I did use kind of a long thing. So this basically has got all the stuff for Git to be able to go and find those changes inside of other repos as long as those repos have the same files with the same stuff around the changes we made. If they are too different, then it won't work. But that's why we try to keep things in sync. It's work very nicely on all the libraries if they are kept in sync. Did I update this? Yeah, okay, we did back here. So let's make a new branch from main. And this has the patch file. I'll run. In case it wants to do anything with the end of the. I'm just going to ignore reuse for now because these things don't seem to have any reuse thing in it. I have the person, how that works, but only change I made. Anything else it's finding is stuff have like built. Checked in though. Just gonna leave stuff on. This is the only file we're changing. This is the only one that could fail reuse inside of Git. If it does fail, then we'll do adding patch for rough. Here we got same change. Free cookie cutter. Okay, so we'll keep an eye on that and see if it does actually. I think it should be. And we still have about 30 minutes, so we can, and that's basically all I need to do for this. So now this PR is in. We just make sure the actions pass. As long as that's good, we wait for this to get reviewed. Whenever that is actually merged, then afterwards, I can come back and run the patch using Adabot. But until then, that is all we can do. So next, I think is I can look at. I saw this came in today or yesterday. Yeah. Right. But yeah, retired wizard. Chat here as well, so that's convenient. Did work on the Spelljam app to make it easier, basically, to switch to a different text-to-speech engine. So Spelljam, for anyone who doesn't know, kind of show a little bit. So Spelljam was the project I did a couple of weeks back. It runs on the Fruit Jam, and it's kind of like a take on the old school speak and say style device, but it is still a bit different. So the way this works, you get a keyboard plugged in, you type in whatever word you want, it will put it on the display, and then when you enter, it will do two things. It will read off the spelling of the word, letter by letter, and it will fetch from AWS. They call it AWS Poly, the text-to-speech service that Amazon has. It will fetch audio of the full word. So, if you type in the word microcontroller, like it said there, it's going to download a WAV file of the Amazon robot saying the word microcontroller. And it will play both of those. So it will play the individual letters and then the full word, and then vice versa. It'll play the full word, then the letters, and then the word again. Kind of like spelling bee style. So that's what this project did. And it was originally just hard-coded to use AWS, but now it has been refactored, thanks to Retired Wizard, to be easier to just swap in a different backend, essentially, to get rid of AWS and swap in your own. Not only like your own, you could use a different service. Like I did experiment a little bit with IBM. I think they just called it Watson TTS or something. I don't remember if it had a different name, but IBM also has a TTS one that works basically the same. You could swap in with that, but these also would let you swap in like a locally running thing. So back in the link here, there are links, I think, or at least mentions of Connie TTS, which was a new one to me, but I saw this linked here. And Kitten TTS, which I am more familiar with, which are locally running text-to-speech engines. So you can run this on your own computer. You can even run it on a Raspberry Pi, in fact. We have a different guide. TTS, if you search. There is another guide for using Kitten TTS with the, I forget what they call this, I think AI hat or something. Voice bonnet. That's what it's not AI hat. Voice bonnet output from Kitten TTS there. So you can actually run that on a Pi. And what this is refactoring that's going to let you do is kind of like make it easy to swap in your own server using one of those text-to-speech things if you want, instead of Amazon. So you don't need an API key. You don't have to pay for service eventually. You don't even need internet connection necessarily. You would need network connection to whatever computer is running that TTS server. So, but that could be local network connection if you wanted it to be. All right, so then the new I'm actually going to pull this up as well. I just kind of prefer looking in here that GitHub scrunches it sometimes. So then what's nice is there only one file changed, or well, no, there must be a new file. Pi has changes, AWS Poly, that changes well. Local. I do think local, I don't think I want to put local in the repo here. And the only reason why is because that's going to make it show up, well, two places actually, which I think will be a little confusing to people. Let me go back to this guide. So if that local one is there, that means it's going to show up one in this list, like it would be here. And then the other one is when they click download here, that means they're going to get that file. And it's not altogether bad, but I think it could be confusing because it's not called out anywhere. I think what I would like to do is in these files, basically have all of these changes, the top three, and then for local here, put this one in a playground. Yeah, playground. Make a playground and embed that one. You know, you could just put it in your own GitHub or wherever you want, or even just in the playground is fine as well. And if you want, I can make a repo under my GitHub. If you don't want to link it to yours, that's fine as well. But having it in a separate one, what that will let me do is it will not change the screenshot and it will not change the stuff that gets downloaded. But then what I'll do is I'll go back in the guide, and on the page where it talks about this, so like code explanation here, and then AWS Poly, what I'll do is there'll be a new section for the, whatever this was called, AWS Word Fetcher. There'll be a new section with AWS Word Fetcher. Tabs now. Or this one, TTS AWS, my bad. Well, which has Word Fetcher. Yeah, okay, that's right. It has Word Fetcher inside of it. So I will make a new section for that, but it will be linking the AWS one. And then this one, what I'll do is I'll link to that playground. So in that same section where this is, I'll be like, hey, you know, this is the word fetcher that you use for the Amazon one, which is what this guide is documented with. If you would like to run it locally, run a different TTS engine, I'll make it clear that it's not Amazon, but I will add some verbiage here that's like, if you want to use a different one, then all you have to do is go over to this playground, get the word fetcher class from it, and substitute it in. And I could even show a little snippet of the code. But I would like to keep it separate that way so that it's not having that extra class in the screenshot and what people download. So they don't, since it requires setting up that extra server and doing all the other stuff, most people are not going to be able to use it for anything without some more information. I would rather they just get the Amazon. But that does not stop us from looking at the code still. That's all fine. I was planning on creating a playground so I can move it. Sweet. Thank you. And then what I can do actually here, which is nice, is I can just this main. These nice things are similar to the GitHub ones, but I can control the width a little better, and they don't fold in the same way. The folding in the GitHub, like they cut some of the code out, it makes it difficult to figure out where it's at. Okay, so yeah, totally changed the name of this file, which is good because now it could be downloading stuff that's not AWS, right? We definitely don't want to put the name AWS Poly on a file that came from something else. You know, we don't need Bezos coming after us or anything. That's good. And then here, spacing and imports change, so there would be no more connection manager or any of that kind of stuff. And one thing we could actually leave here if you want is a commented one, maybe. Yeah, I would just have the code that's in the learn repo, just have it import this by default. It doesn't need to bother checking. But we can just leave a commented one next to it and put in a little note that's like, if you're using non-AWS, then comment out this one and uncomment this one. Kind of similar to how we do SpyBus sometimes. And then that's basically, and so then just swapping that import should basically be all you need to do, because these classes are actually the same name. And as long as they're the same interface and everything, it should all just basically work. So it does do what differently? So we have now inside of there. So I think now only matters for AWS because of the way the authentication works. It needs to have the time. So yeah, all this network stuff, in fact, is all now contained inside the word fetcher. It's all disappearing from CodePy here, which makes sense. I think I said WAV file earlier. I guess it was an MP3 instead, or it could be both, depending on which thing you're using, it looks like. Yeah, and that makes sense to check. Like Kitten TTS, I think, does WAV files. Amazon, I think, did MP3s. That makes sense. Just check which one it is, and then play the correct one. And conveniently, we're just using FruitJam library, which has helper functions for both MP3 and WAV. The WAV one doesn't say WAV in the name, but play file actually is for playing WAV files. Conveniently, we don't, like, it's a small if statement there to be able to do whichever one we want. And then it's now used the instance of word fetcher instead of a local. All looking good to me. Amazon one, so this now contains all the stuff for the actual Amazon TTS that will be the one in the main learn guide. Sync the time so that we have accurate clock. Initialize all the network stuff, requests, ESP, all that stuff. And then this just has basically the same fetch word function that it had before. Refactored to have self in places where it needs it. Yeah. This comes from that come from? Oh, right. This gets imported from back in the okay. Yeah, and there's a lot here, so this stuff could technically live inside this class, but it doesn't really. I think this is kind of a nice delineation because this is more high level, like set up the hardware, set the neopixels, get the stuff, and when you want to dig into what get the stuff really means, going in there, and I'll warn you, it's kind of gnarly because the authentication that Amazon uses is like, you know, HMAX and hashes and times and all kinds of stuff going on inside there. Okay. And then this one would be using that Connie server. It's got the same interface, fetch word, which means CodePy can call it the same way. And then in this one, it's not dealing with the hyper paranoid Amazon authentication, so it has way, way, way less stuff. It's not having to bother with the current date and time, the HMAC and the tokens and the hashing and all that stuff, which is all good security stuff. But like if we're running locally to our own thing, it's less important. Yeah. All right, so I will try out this version just with the Amazon one for now. We'll see how long that takes. Then I will try out the other one now if this goes super quick, or later if I will need the speakers, which I have to actually get up in order to get, so I will be back in. Just far enough away, and with my green screen that's behind me here. This is the new project, Logic Gates. If anyone's interested, that guide's probably next week coming out. So you know, it turns out TTS Local works with Kit and TTS as well. Nice. Posted the CircuitPy script you need to the PR. Sweet. Interesting. Okay, so yeah, that Connie one just kind of wraps it the same way in a little server. You can just swap in. I wonder if it's using a different model, because Kit. One of the cool things about Kit and TTS is it is Apache, Apache license, Apache 2. So you could just be wrapped. That Connie one could just be a wrapped Kit and TTS one with the server added on, but it could be a totally separate one. It's like so many different models. I've only been like kind of in this world of models and LLMs and different versions of all these things last couple of weeks, but like there's so many new ones all the time. It's like what to keep up with. These ones to start with. I can just overwrite this because I actually have a copy of Logic Gate already right here. I already have all these files too. I'm just going to overwrite anyway in case we're out of date or whatever. They sound different, but could be based on the same models on some level. Okay. So, or maybe same training. I don't know exactly what they've used to train it, but I suspect there's like some sort of public domain-ish large body of speech. I don't know if it's like NPR broadcasts or like some thing like that that's kind of like a huge amount of public domain-ish audio. I assume there's something like that. All of them are voice ones. All of the free voice ones. Amazon might, some of those bigger players, they might be actually paying voice stuff to train on. Yeah, the smaller teams, I think, probably have some big body of. Did this thing pass, by the way? Oh, actually, yeah, Adabot. So the thing about it is, one of the actions runs a test which uses up all of the API requests for the hour. So actually, the actions will take a whole hour. But it's like the vast majority of the time, it's just waiting on the refresh of API requests for GitHub. Hour. So yeah, we're not actually going to be able to see if that passes or not during the stream, at least. Let's take a second to initialize. I've noticed the hardware, like the Fruit Jam library, because it's initializing like all the hardware and setting up the display and doing everything, it does take a second to a couple seconds there, obviously. All right, so we should be able to test this. I don't know sure if the speaker is actually gonna through microphone or not. Actually, it should be set to be. Have this set fairly loud. What should we do? Let's see. Sworn. It's the. I have two dongles here that look like almost identical. I was pretty sure there's like one of them has a different. Them has a different. Thing printed on it. Has the if you're familiar with Logitech unifying whatever, there's like an asterisk sun looking icon that they draw on the dongle that signifies it's part of the unifying Logitech family or whatever. It can be used. You can buy a generic dongle to replace your game with it. And I don't have the camera set up, but the NeoPixels turn yellow while it's fetching, so they're yellow right now. Take a couple seconds to download, and then it will start stuff off here. Don't know.
Circuit. C-I-R-C-U-I-T. Circuit.
Go. That one is totally working. And said the server one is in here. I don't know if I'll make it. About 10 minutes left in tonight's stream, so I don't know if I'll make it all the way through testing this, but I can at least kind of try to start getting set up. Copy there. Here. Time. Actually, I do. Messages. Kind of smash Z's at the beginning of the name to get it to the bottom of this. So I need to like this full. Oh, I have the I have the IBM one as well there. In my breath. I don't have an AWS account. AWS account to test with. Yeah, totally. Good job. Got it. First time. Nailed it, as they say. Let's go with so this is using what? Fast API. I have to install. Flask is my go-to. Just grab a random Python server usually. I've heard good things about Fast API as well. a specific reason why it's not my go-to other than just Flask was the one I heard about first, got used to. Pydant. Oh, is that part of a is that like a realization? SQL alchemy? I'm trying to blank on the name for that. There's a name for those, for the concept of data validation. Okay, not quite. So this is for validation. The tool I'm thinking of is for serialization, so storing stuff in a database. ORM, that's the actual term for object relational mapping tool. That's what SQL alchemy is. And it also has a concept called model. Be confused with like LLM model and all the models we have nowadays. But this is similar in the way. It looks like it's defining a model that represents, in this case, a request, and it's the the validity of the request. This request is going to come in with a text field. It's going to be a string. Temperature field, it's a float. I'm guessing these are defaults, probably max tokens, top P. These are like variables you can pass to the TTS model, I believe. Chunk size, and then look back frames. Startup event, so this probably gets run once when the thing starts. Health check, you could send a request there and find out whether or not the TTS engine started correctly. Generate speech, so you send a post request to here. Presumably your request will have these things in it. I'm guessing JSON, but we'll have to see. And then this is going to grab the data out of there, use the TTS engine, generate the file, and either return it back to you or maybe return you a JSON with a link to it or something. So it looks like, so Connie TTS here. Not Kitten, and then Kitten TTS here. They're like, that much different. Both kind of work similarly. And then the response, okay, so the response is the actual wave file. All right, then root, so slash root endpoint, which just returns kind of basic. Actually, this might be a spec for like docs or whatever. I think you can. There's like API docs things you can add in, and if you have an endpoint that returns a thing like this, it will generate you a bunch of pages. Obviously this isn't a very extensive API, but and then Uvicorn it uses as an actual server. That's like an HTTP server Python. I am gonna go ahead and make a new virtual environment for this, just because some of this stuff I don't have set up otherwise. Make virtual environment. Yes, server inv. And I'm gonna make it in this folder. Sometimes I have a folder in my home directory. So I'm just gonna associate with the project here. Of course, activate, and we're gonna need what? So Uvicorn. Kitten TTS. Pip. Do you have a 2 or a 0.2 actually? They have a 0.2. Might not. I don't think you have to. You don't have to fetch it differently, or maybe I just did it wrong. That's gonna that one installs a lot of stuff because it has everything it needs to break down speech. Tokenize NumPy and SciPy, and then Pydantic and Fast API. Straight up, same name. Poetry. PR indicated new pivot. Oh. Oops. All right, we got a couple minutes left. If anyone has questions, comments, riddles, short, good time to get them in. I will be back tomorrow over on my own channel. If you want some more CircuitPython stuff, CircuitPython streaming, I'll be there. I usually post links in Discord here when I get started. So watch for that if you're interested. I will be gone next week. So yeah, programming note, no deep dive next week. So no stream on Friday afternoon and no Saturday stream for me next week either. Tomorrow, Saturday, I will be here. That's 10 a.m. Central Time is usually when I stream on my own channels. But next week, there will be neither stream. No deep dive on Friday afternoon and no morning stream on Saturday, 10 a.m. Vacation weekend for weekend. All right, so that's there. Pip install Pydantic. Can you do? I think you can do multiple, right? Pydantic. Oh, it's already there. Must have been grabbed it. Was there one? Was NumPy? SciPy. I'd say those are probably already there from one of the other ones. No. Well, it's cached. If that one. Okay. Let's see if we can run the server now. So it will have to. So the first time you run it, when it first initializes the model, it will download the model. I didn't actually check. I guess it looks like kitten is true by default, probably. Oh, interesting. That work. Oh, okay. So it will attempt to import kitten TTS. If that's successful, then that's going to put this in globals. Oh, that's pretty nifty, actually. I've never seen that pattern before. Actually, I kind of like that. I was assuming this was just going to be like a Boolean. You need to switch it, like caveman or something. Actually, we'll just automatically choose the one you have, basically. Because if you're using Connie one, you won't have this. It will fail. This will be false. Pretty cool. Let's see. Is that finished up? Yeah, so that should be running on port 8000. So let's give this a quick test, and then we will wrap it up for the day. So I'll just check if the server's running, and then we'll be ready. Probably tomorrow I'll work on this. We'll be ready to actually swap in that fetcher, that other word fetcher class, and we can test that one too. So localhost, port 8000, and then root should give us this. Has the endpoints and stuff, and then the other one was like a health. In fact, it says here. Health. Realize it actually says. It does take it. Maybe you tap on those. We don't need to go /health. None in players. Ah, so player separate. Player would actually be none, I think, here. That might stop it from working. That might just make this be false. Looks like here it's checking separately, and if it's not kitten, it uses player, but if it is kitten, it does not use player. I think that will not matter for actually generating audio. I think that will just show there. Yep. Okay. That will do it for tonight. So I will test the rest of this tomorrow. We'll actually hook up the word fetcher on the Fruit Jam. I'll run this on my computer, and we will hook it up so that Spelljam will fetch from this local server instead of AWS. We can make sure that works, and then the rest of that PR should be good to go. So yeah, thank you very much for working on that, Retired Wizard. I'm actually super happy to see that, because like I think I mentioned in the PR, this was an idea that I had but didn't actually take any steps towards. I just kind of had the idea and was like, I'll do that someday maybe. So I am actually super stoked to see it become a reality. I think that's really cool to be able to sub in a non-cloud based, Amazon based thing, right? I actually do really like being able to have this locally. You can own it. You don't need to pay anyone. You don't need to be on the internet. You need a token. Have to worry about the rest of all of that stuff that comes with all of that. So I actually really think that's super cool. So thank you very much for working on this. I do really appreciate it. For everyone else, thanks for watching. I appreciate everyone who's watching along. Anyone in the chats, I appreciate you. Also, if you're just watching and not in the chats, that's totally cool too. I appreciate you nonetheless. Like I said, I'll be back tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Central, over on my own channel. I'll put the links in the live broadcast chat. No streams next week, no deep dive on next Friday, no Saturday stream next week, but I should be back the following week, which is the 24th on deep dive. Friday I should be back, and then the 25th I think I should be back for my stream on Saturday. That is it. Thank you again, everyone. I will see you all later. Thanks for watching.